So who is? I'm not familiar.
Live from the mighty Veedworks Airship, I'm Travis Lippert, CEO of Works Unlimited Limited, better known as Veedworks.
And I'm Julie Richardson, Director of Commercialization and Promotions. And with us we have Tony Silvernail.
From Kentucky Organic Hemp Co-Op. What do you, Tony Silvernail?
Yeah, I'm just out here visiting. I thought I'd go for a ride.
What does that sound?
Well, it sounds like the trash truck.
Huh. Well, I guess it is a Wednesday. We don't typically go live on Wednesdays. So I guess the trash truck comes right about then. The airborne trash truck.
That was the rudder. Got his rudder cutting loose.
There you go.
So Tony is with the Kentucky Organic Hemp Co-op. Did I say that right?
Yes. This is a very new organization that we started in Kentucky. Essentially, myself along with Dr. Sean Lucas. He's a very hemp advocate, great guy in Kentucky. He's also the director of the organic program at Kentucky State University. So him and I late last fall in November, we decided, well, let's try to do this co-op. And essentially, we were just doing it just so hopefully we can get a few people that we can work together, try to figure out some problems, and possibly market our product all together. So that was the genesis of it last fall.
So I was checking out that garbage truck. So now you've got, so the co-op has 16?
Yeah, it somewhat fluctuates a little bit. We're trying to get that number down. We're just... Oh.
There you go.
Okay, a little better. We are just right now working on getting all of our bylaws and getting our contract together with our growers. Essentially, I have 16 what we consider members, the patron members, the growers that are actually the co-op, part of the co-op ownership. We got 16 growers right now, approximately about 50 acres that will be certified organic hemp for flower material. So that's where we're at. We're, like I said, we're small, and I mentioned to you earlier, one of the things we're trying to do is making sure we get the first year right. So some of the newbies that are coming in, some of the newer growers that are not that familiar with hemp, we're trying to keep their acreage somewhat small, try to set them up for success a little bit better. So it's a learning stuff. Well, that's one of the things that we're working on right now.
What are their main concerns, like a new farmer?
Wow, geez. One is just I'm a transition trainer for the Organic Association of Kentucky. The fact that we're going, they have to be certified organic. I'm introducing a lot of these growers that have been essentially following organic practices, but they're not certified organic. So I'm working with these actually getting certified organic. That's one of the major hurdles that we're dealing with. And then just trying to figure out there really isn't that much information out there really as far as organic hemp production in Kentucky or within an organic rotation. So this is one of the things that we're going to be looking at and trying to figure that out. And we don't know in these rotations as we do these production practices, what are our pests going to be? You know, there are insects coming in and vertebrates coming in to the state that are creating an issue. I guess there was a fungal issue last year. So these are all sort of challenges that I'm sure as soon as we get into the soil, there's going to be a lot more issues we're going to have to face. But, you know, the nice thing is with the co-op, you know, we're sharing information. We're helping each other out. We have new people. We also have the old guard that have been with the hemp program in Kentucky since it started, and actually even before it started. So we have a very diverse mixed group of people that we're all going to be coming with different bits of information, and we're hoping by being able to share and cooperate that we'll be able to be successful that way.
How are you going to plant it? Are you going to use it like a corn seeder? Are you going to plant it by clone? Or because you're not just starting out growing hemp. This isn't your first year growing hemp. You've previously grown fiber and seed, right? Mm-hmm. Which is something that people in Kansas might be. This is their first year growing any sort of plant. Mm-hmm. so this is your first CBD year. So how are you going to plan it?
Well, what's really funny about this, it was a great topic of discussion, and it's one of very passionate two sides. Within our co-op, we do have a group. I'm part of this group that are working with clones. And then you have sort of the older guard, the ones that's been doing hemp and everything else for decades. They definitely want to go from seed, and they feel comfortable going in, roading out all the males, and they feel they can do that. And
how?
Hand. It's a hoe. You walk the rows.
I want to tell me, everybody, that I want to make a robot called He Who Walks Between the Rows, and it identifies using sensors male plants, and it exterminates them with either a blade or a laser or some sort of directed energy sound.
Like a plasma.
Yeah.
Plasma blast.
Yeah.
Go with the laser. Go really high tech. Have fun with it. But that would be great. But yeah, like right now, so you figure that's like something that you have to be on every day for, and so how many acres you have. But we had when we're formed, we're still, don't get me wrong, we are on a good track with the co-op, but we still got a long way to go. There's still a lot of meetings, a lot of discussion. But a recent meeting we had with our whole group, I started out how, as part of what we're doing, research trying to develop some of this, and with Sean Lucas at Kentucky State, we're able to do this, is try to learn. Try a bunch of different things and just see which one works best. So I brought that up, and the fact that we had different people that like clones, and this group like direct seeding. And then the one person from the direct seeding crowd made a statement that then the person from the clone crowd took offense to. So it was sort of like a very passionate discussion started. So like right now, this being our first year basically in existence, that we're going to try it. We're going to try both. And I mean, and it's not like they're not even in the same counties, these people. And so it's going to be interesting. And we want to try to keep track of all this, keep track of your labor, your costs, and everything like that. And then try to figure out what would be the best. And if you have decent data, some good metrics, yeah, you can show that, okay, this would be a better way to go. But, like right now, it's, what people are familiar with, like they're familiar with direct seeding, they're familiar with clones. So obviously then that's the camp that they're going to be in,
Right. Well, I think you're brilliant. And another thing people are familiar with if they're in rural areas is co-ops. Mm-hmm. And so it's by doing it that way, you're absolutely brilliant, because you're kind of taking away some of the fear factor of the, spooky, what are we doing here? But if they might be more willing to get involved, if it was something they were familiar with, like a co-op, like they've seen their parents, or if they've been in the farming industry, generations.
Let's say somebody's not familiar with a co-op. What's a co-op?
What's a co-op?
Well, co-op can take a bunch of different forms. Specifically, like our form is LCA. We're actually licensed with the state as a limited cooperative association. But there's different formats. Like I was telling Julie earlier, one of the favorite companies that is a large co-op in the United States is Organic Valley. And you sort of look at how they've structured their co-op and always putting the growers first. That's one of the things that, as a co-op, I mean, in the name, cooperating, we're, helping each other out. We're pooling our product. We're cutting expenses by buying in bulk, Do
you often have centralized storage facilities? Like I remember growing up, like I'd see co-op a lot of times on a silo.
Yep.
A way.
Well, that's what we want to do. And as a co-op, we want to be pooling our product at the end of the season and selling it as a co-op. Okay. So, we will be doing that, like the old feed mill co-op for like that community or township. Yeah, but we'll be statewide. I mean, right now, we're just growers in Kentucky. But, we don't really want to limit that, even though Kentucky isn't our name. I mean, there's a lot of close relationships with growers just on the border of Tennessee or Indiana, but this is something that the nice thing about a cooperative is we're very flexible. A lot of the stuff that, was going to define us as a cooperative, we're still defining. We're still putting these together as a board. We just 2 weeks ago, we elected our first board. We got our board in place. And then we just had our first meeting after that. No, the first meeting was 2 weeks ago. That's when we accepted our bylaws. But we're still working through them. But the nice thing about a cooperative is it does allow you that flexibility. So like for us, whatever we decide on now, that's not written in stone. We could come back as a board and possibly change it or tweak it or open it up to different growers. But the nice thing also about, I sort of talk about the basic structure, the nice thing about cooperative is what I mentioned earlier, sharing experience, sharing, what I do. I've been growing organic for over 20 years, so I have a lot of background there, where other people have it in the hemp component. So as a cooperative, we're sharing information, we're talking amongst ourselves, and that is one of the great benefits. And then there's the financial support. One of the things I didn't quite realize the need or the desire for a co-op as much as there seems to have been. When Sean and I, we basically agreed to this on a handshake over pizza at a pizza joint in Frankfurt. Like I said, we just thought there'd be a few people, and we'd be lucky with that. But once we started talking with some growers, there was the same issues that sort of presented themselves to me that these people were dealing with directly, as far as, locating seed source or clone source or anything like that. And then trying to get a processor, if they're only doing an acre or two, you're back in the line in a lot of the processors in some cases. That's what I'm told. And so they figured, well, if we can start pooling together, we get it, amplifies, it multiplies our effect. And the fact that we could actually contract as a group, and this is what we're working on, with a processor that will certify the end product, the end hemp oil that's certified organic. And that's something that we're developing right now. And there's a lot, I swear, every meeting we have. You guys probably have it here at Wiedwerks. You have a meeting and you generate more questions than you ever give answers to. And that's sort of like where we're at.
We usually just end up changing the question. It's like, oh, that was yesterday. That was this morning. It's like, when's the last time I talked to you?
Yeah.
It's like, this is still the same conversation. Oh, okay. Things happen really quickly.
Yeah. We got too many stubborn farmers. So it's sort of like, they get focused on something.
They're all organic, or like, what did y'all grow before hemp?
Some of them were just doing pasture and running cattle on it. And then they decided, well, I'm going to start. They realized if they haven't really done anything to land, it's pretty easy to get it certified. Then you just have to maintain it. And that's where the difficulty comes in. But a lot of these people came from a tobacco growing background, and they have the ground there. So when that left like 20 years ago, a lot of them just went to beef, cattle, and so pastures, and, they're haying it and putting the animals out on it, but not really maximizing it. Now with beef prices so low, everybody's looking for something else to do. So that's sort of drawing people in. They're seeing a new crop. These are some of the newbies. Like some of the old people, I say old. There's actually a really nice young couple. They're one of the founding people, but they're way younger than me. So I can't really, but they've been doing it a while and they're good at it. So, a lot of we're diversified producers, and all of us will have other crops most likely growing too. But they all come from a farming background, and we're fortunate with this local lawyer that's helping us. He's grew up in a tobacco farm just north of Frankfurt, an area called Bald Knob. And he's actually has a family farm. He hasn't really been doing too much with it, and now he's got some grown kids that he's sort of turning them. So we're opening up that way. He was sort of leasing out his land, but now he's actually coming back to it and going to be doing stuff with it. And now he's looking at other crops too. So you're seeing this where people may have not been that active as far as farming, but they're seeing this, hey, this is a way for me to do it. And then being organic, you do have to have a rotation. So you do have to start looking at diversifying whatever you're doing. So it's interesting, the multiplier effect, people just, I can do it this way. I can do it as organic, with hemp. But then, okay, well, then you're going to be required to do this. And hey, that's not a bad thing,
Right.
Put it in pasture, actually doing a good managed graze on stuff, and then turning that under and then putting other crops of vegetables, working in vegetables, are perennial crops, so it's nice. Just within our group, we're seeing this multiplier of what people are doing.
Well, we were talking earlier about Kansas saying no to clover, wasn't it? Clover.
Yeah,
that's exactly what I was going to ask you next.
and I had brought up to him, because that just makes no sense.
Well, I've learned things about that since
Have
then.
you? What answer
So
did you get?
I think that you can plant. I think that if you plant by clone in Kansas some hemp and then use a crop duster to plant clover, and as long as you don't harvest that clover,
Oh, okay. You're fine?
you're fine.
Yeah, see, we got to get some clarification in Kentucky along those lines, because a lot of our growers will be growing on raised beds and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I had the suggestion of going in between and planting buckwheat. Buckwheat's one of my favorite summer annual cover crops. It comes up, smothers weeds, and it provides a perfect nectary for beneficial invertebrates, insects, and everything else, which will attack the bad stuff. So having that in between your rows will two purpose, obviously control weeds, and then provide a good biological area for your beneficials. And but Kentucky had something about, I got to get some clarity on Kentucky on what they had some rules about intercropping and stuff with hemp. And I'm not sure if that really covers with the cover crops. It was something that was brought up. I have to get some clarity.
Yeah.
It was one of these times I was probably
none of that
dozing.
makes any sense. That
I know,
this
I know.
intercrop and versus.
Well, but they're worried.
Kansas said that you can't grow a cover crop, but you can grow ground cover.
Okay.
Which doesn't make any. What are you thinking? They're like, even just pretend that half of the internet is telling the truth, the half that you hate, maybe even, and they are saying that the bees are going away. Like, grow some clover if you're not doing anything else.
Yeah, I'm not really sure the genesis of some of these rules or whatever, but probably a lot of it just had to do, like with anything, there's compromise, with the, we're talking about like the state police agencies and stuff by state, and then you got your ag. So there's always, we saw this in Kentucky as they developed this, and probably here in Colorado also. There's always compromises. And I really believe some of the intercropping stuff probably goes back to some dates where they were intercropping stuff in corn, trying to mask it or hide it or something like that. I don't know. This is all speculation on my point, on my part. I'm not real sure. But yeah, that's, it seems crazy. I totally agree. You should be able to, do that. I mean, for the multitude of reasons. And it does fit. You're adding, organic matter then to the soil. Just so many different benefits. So I don't know. It may be something that it is there. Maybe as you go forward, more clarity can be developed from the production component and say that this rule's sort of antiquated, doesn't really fit, and I think if you just approach it like that, we got great people at the Kentucky Department of Ag, and they're really trying to work with growers and process everybody in the state. And so they're really working for us. So, if there's something a little quirky, you may look at it, why? I'm sort of like, okay, let's just be nice. Let's try to work that. What is this issue, But yeah, we're very fortunate in Kentucky. I don't know. You said you work a lot with the legislature here, correct? And
Well, yeah. In fact, that's why my phone's been blowing. We've got a bill that's a hospitality bill, I believe they're working on today. We try to, but it's not as much with the hemp. I know Travis does more with the hemp than I do. I'm more up there for patients' rights.
Oh, okay.
In that sort of thing. You really do have some good opportunities in Kentucky. You have the University of Kentucky behind you. And it sounds like the Ag's behind you.
And Kentucky State. That's where Sean Lucas is at.
Okay, yeah, that's what. All right, that's what I meant.
And actually, too, Murray State. I think Western Kentucky. They're in Bowling Green. And actually, Louisville, I was told they have some program, probably a materials class or something, that's doing hemp. And because they're not a land grant like UK or Kentucky State. So, yeah, it's great that a lot of people are jumping into this space because there are so many questions, and then start getting the major universities like over in North Carolina State. They're doing great research. And I know that just north of us in Big Ten area, we're SEC area where we're at, but up in the Big Ten area, they're starting to get it now. So
I just remembered I forgot to fill out my bracket.
Okay, just pick UK and Michigan State in the Final Four, and then you'll have half of it right.
UK,
University of Kentucky. Come on now.
Sorry.
I'm sorry, I missed the joke.
With so many of the universities, what's happening in a lot of rural communities, like where I'm from, you have people, kids grow up, they go to college, they don't do the family farm anymore. And that's been, a huge decrease in kids going into ag. And I'm hoping that with this is going to inspire more of those young minds to get back into that science.
4-H.
And go back, the 4-H, and back to the family farm.
Time to make it 5-H. Is Kentucky allowing that? Or are they is like FFA or 4-H starting to say like...
What's 5-H? I'm sorry. With hemp?
It's like 4-H has that clover.
I know,
right?
Okay. You know what? I don't think that'll ever probably fly in a public school system.
Really?
Probably not.
Okay, not the logo, but the concept.
Yes, the concept. I don't think anybody wants, that on their program door at a high school. That might raise some issues, I think.
Just wait for it.
Maybe. But... no, I think what's really great with the ag bill passing.
Wait, that's weird though.
What? Okay.
Hemp is an agricultural commodity.
Yes.
Just like corn and soybeans and sunflowers. And what is weird about having the leaf of a hemp plant on...
Well, because how they're going to associate it. Right. And it's sort of like putting a beer bottle up there on the chemistry lab, or something like that. It's sort of like, these are still minors, so, but that will, I know where you're going
but you
with
grew
this.
all this fiber. And
I totally agree, but I'm just saying probably no site-based parent committee at a high school would probably like that, and at least not in my area of Kentucky. So, and I don't have kids in there; they're all in college right now. But yeah, no, I agree. It should, because it is such a great product, and it is going to be such a mainstream product for us, especially in Kentucky and Colorado, states that really got the jump on it and are really dedicated to the program. It should be. I'm not arguing. I
thought you said Kentucky. You said Kentucky?
Yes.
Organic Hemp
Co-op. Oh, yes.
Kentucky Hemp. Mitch McConnell.
I know. I'm not.
How come there ought to be a high school? The next high school in Kentucky, their mascot ought to be the hemp farmers.
The hemp high.
Yeah. It should.
Well,
they have in northern Colorado a high school with their mascots, the Beet Diggers. They're
Cornhuskers.
At what point, when in the future is it going to be the same thing as a corn plant?
I don't know. Next Rapture? I don't know.
This year. I hope the two don't coincide.
That would suck. Just to get progressive. It's like, oh shit, it's all gone.
Yeah.
But you know what? I don't know, and you're gonna get me in trouble if I start speculating because there's Hemp High guy.
No, I'm Hemp High guy.
Yeah, okay, that's him. Okay,
the hemp farmers.
No, I agree. It should be part of the curriculum. It should be part of any program. Just as all the other major commodity crops and protein and everything, that's all part of this. And organic should be. I know like our high school FFA, they say organic and you're like, oh, some hippie kids, or something like that. You're dealing with sort of a traditional farmer, what's been done for the past 80 years or whatever. Well, that dynamic's changing. And you talk about young growers. One of the nice things that I get to experience in other job besides with my farm is I do transition training for OAK, the Organic Association of Kentucky. And so I go around and help farmers go through their first certification process or help them do the transition period. I'm seeing a lot of really young growers. And what's great about them is they're all way smarter than I am. And they're very adventurous, so they're trying a lot of new things. And this is the group that's getting into the hemp. They're willing to try something new. And yes, there are that concern that the grower population is aging. I mean, I know I am, unfortunately. But you're seeing with some of this organic and some of this not the traditional agriculture, people getting into it. And they're all small scale, everybody's starting off with 5, 8, 10 acres, and, if you only have you and your spouse or partner, it's like, that's a bunch of work, so, and as you get going, the demand is there. I mean, I'm sure like here in Colorado, between all your metropolitan areas, man, I'd love to be an organic grower within 30 miles of this area. And like in Kentucky, I'm fortunate. I'm right in between Lexington and Louisville. And so I just got on I-64 either way, and I got deliveries there. So the same with our co-op, we're going to be in a central part. We have great markets there. And hopefully, everything will become more acceptable, as we go forward. And we'll just build on that.
Make it more acceptable.
Yeah. Go. I mean, I'm from Michigan. And my parents, bless their hearts, they're both 83. All their friends are that age. And then I come in, I'm growing hemp, and right away, everybody associates it with marijuana. And it's sort of like, no, hemp is different. It's not, And this goes along the lines of acceptance, I know, but it's a generational thing, and they got their own, and I think you're seeing that throughout the United States. Everybody's got this preconceived notion, or from mass media or whatever they've been reading, and they're not as accepting as they should be, right now. But that's sort of the battle, I think, for the next decade we'll have to be fighting.
But it's changing.
It's really changing quicker, I think, than you really can imagine. I mean, we see like the roadblocks.
Sorry to interrupt.
Sure.
That's the pill press.
Oh,
hear that?
Yeah. Oh, geez.
Like it is high speed. We're next door to a drug company, and we hear their compressor kick on, and then we know pretty soon after that they're going to, and I bet they just put out like, I don't know, thousands of pills for that. It's just cranking those things out. There's going to be a lot of that
coming up, yeah. The reason why I say that, you see more and more older people in dispensaries, and there's been such a demand in Colorado. We have a mutual friend, Elena Jackson, who just taught a class to a bunch of senior citizens. And they're curious. I got tickled with this one lady. I was in the dispensary, and she was like right next to me, and she goes, well, I've got to get so-and-so their topical, and I got to get so evidently it was a whole group of ladies had sent one brave soul in there to get everything. It was so funny.
Like she's going into that back room behind the curtain to get something naughty, Send in the scout first. But that's actually funny. But there is, I mentioned my parents earlier. I'm finally getting my mom to start taking some CBD. And she has a slight shake and everything like that. So hopefully.
I will go see who that is.
We got to let you out.
Yes.
Where's Gweth at?
This goes back to sort of what you were mentioning earlier about being acceptable and everything like that. My mom was afraid of it. And actually, I had this one woman, it was last year. We were just talking about it. We were downtown Frankfurt. And we were talking about CBD. She says, will that make you test positive for THC? And I looked at her and I said, do you think you're actually going to be doing a drug test anytime soon? So what you worried about? It's sort of, but, you get all of these.
That is a major concern for a large part of the working population.
Yeah, but it's not as prevalent. She was thinking she was looking at it as marijuana, that all of a sudden, you're going to be really lighting it up there. And I'm just like, really? You think you're going to be doing a drug test? You're 70-something years old, you're retired,
Yeah.
So you're not going to be over the road trucker, or pilot at this point.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's going to be a battle. But, I mean, these battles can be won. I mean, I've been with organics and I've been
just curious.
I've been doing organics, and organics sort of had a preconceived notion of those that do organic, grow organics, that eat organics, and we've been busting those stereotypes down. And trying to make it more affordable. And I really see a lot of the same similarities with the hemp. There's a lot of preconceived notions. There's a lot of misinformation out there, but there's also just a tremendous amount of opportunity. And now that we got our co-op, we're sort of melding these two together. And I'm real excited about that. So
I'm excited about it too. I know that you've got a 2:00 hard stop. Is that still true?
No, well, close to that and everything. Cool. But you can fly me over to the airport, right?
Yeah.
Okay, definitely. Cool. Got to blast back off to Kentucky and get back to work.
I have to ask.
Okay.
What was that?
Oh, that was Jim with Mile High Cleaners. Oh. He was dropping us off a little container to see if we needed. He had a surplus of containers.
Outstanding.
So,
That's awesome. That was a cool show.
Yeah, I tried to get him to stick around. He's like, no, I'll come back. I'll come back.
What are Mile High Cleaners?
They are
Mile High Cleaner. Singular.
Yeah.
Oh, cleaner.
Yeah, because there's a dry cleaner.
It used to be called weed wipes, but it's a triglyceride-based cleaning solution.
Oh, okay.
Gets stuff off bongs and whatnot. Protects them.
Okay.
And I find he gives me tons because I find household uses for it.
Oh, yeah. Good at cleaning out the stove.
Well, I use a lot of cast iron, so it's any baked on, greasy, grimy, gunky, or like when my son fixes my car, just a little drop of it in his hands, and it's like, it's way better than that goo-goo stuff that, they use. But, yeah, and that, oh, gosh, I get the tar, when you clean it out, I get tar all over my nails. It cleans that. It's not dangerous, but he'll even drink it. It's completely non-toxic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Go for the inside clean?
Yeah. Well, and then when you're cleaning stuff, you're not
I want to see the rest of
worry.
that story. We saw him drink it. All right, that was all right.
How did you feel later?
I mean, I've been able to choke down a lot of stuff that
didn't want to stay there.
It wasn't the end of the story.
Got things moving along.
Oh yeah, that's always the easy part. Sometimes the follow up gets harder. But
oh my goodness. So what do you have in the ground right now at home? I know you had some lettuces and stuff in your greenhouse.
Yeah, I have spinach, Swiss chard, kales. I have a bunch of different variety of kales, lettuce mixes, arugula, mesclun mix, radishes, and this is all part of my other organic production.
What mix?
Mesclun mix. It's a spicy lettuce mix. It's not mesclun, it's mesclun mix.
Oh,
yeah. It's very close. I'm probably mispronouncing it, so it's that's what the peyote say
all
out there.
Those foods, the ones I'm talking about, we're like, you can eat it.
Yes, you can. but it's a spicy mix.
Yeah.
I just do that for a little bit. We do restaurants and Good Foods Co-op. I got to do a shameless plug here.
There you
Good
go.
I can't see it, but
Well, you just have one button left. Why give
Okay.
it up now?
well, actually, I don't have the Good Foods. This just says local foods.
Oh, local
This-
foods.
Local foods, but from Good Foods Co-op. They're out of Lexington, and I sell a lot of my produce through them. They got a great farm. One of the managers in the back, Matt Painter. Wave out to Matt. Hey, Matt. Great guy. So I deal with so. Hopefully, I'll have to tell him you got to pick it up. I didn't give him a heads up that.
Well, that's the cool thing about technology. We can go back and tag people and
Yeah, that's
give
unfortunate though
shout-outs.
too, because now this is going to be replayed for probably some bonehead comment I made during this interview that
You make no bonehead comment.
Oh, believe me, the people I'm dealing with, they'll find like, you really said that? Oh, shit. I'm sitting there going, you actually examined it that closely, but that's the way
Seems
we
like
do.
you have a lot of anxiety. Have I ever told you about CBD?
No, what does that help you? No, just a ridicule by friends. No,
You need new friends, man.
No,
You need
no.
to come out here and hang out more often.
Oh, I do. I've had a blast. It's great. I came out this time to work with some people at Green Cherry. They're up there at Fort Collins, and they were great. They're very gracious. Sean Lucas had imported plants from them, and we're working with them, and they're getting grow distributors in Indiana that we're going to be getting them certified organic. So as they propagate there in Indiana, they'll have certified, and I'll be working with them. But last year when I first came out, I got to be friends with people and start working out here and seeing what's being done, taking some of that home, hopefully bringing some value when I come out here too. Very different growing conditions between Colorado and Kentucky, but I still believe there's some common issues. I'm sure that as we work through these, it'll be beneficial for both states and all the states in between, hopefully, and once they get online. So,
Are you allowed in the state of Kentucky to plant hemp plants in a maze-like pattern?
no, but I heard you tried that, didn't you? Are you suggesting
I'm not
it?
done trying it.
Okay.
Same thing with the time I ate the whole first head of kale that I made. And, the rest of it. So that story's not over.
Oh, no, you know what?
We've determined that if you plant, if there's no exit hole, it could be a labyrinth.
Oh,
which
there
they
you go.
specifically did not put
Well, I
in the
can
regs.
probably pick out a conflict already with that idea. When you have corn mazes and stuff, your biggest business is school children. And
I'm not talking about any of that.
Oh, okay.
But that's what I was talking about when I called them the first time. That's why they wrote it into the regs. Is I wanted to get FFA and 4-H to.
Do a corn maze or hemp maze, yeah.
So they just said no mazes, but now because they wrote it in the regs, it means that you're not allowed to actually plant in a maze pattern, even if nobody can come to it, which nobody can come to it. Like that's.
Oh, okay. You didn't want that actually in an open production,
Huh?
You didn't want that in an open production like a corn maze.
No, they just won't allow it in the middle of nowhere, guarded by the hounds of hell.
Oh, jeez.
Like you can't. You got to be fingerprinted to set foot on that land.
Oh, there you go.
They won't allow you to plant in that kind of land. They won't allow you to plant.
I have to admit, one of my major weaknesses, and I got many, is reading regs by states. And here I'm an organic guy, but I like the organic stuff. But I doubt if there's a reg on that for or against hemp mazes in Kentucky. We could call the director of the hemp program, but probably not. I mean, you might be able to cut a maze into them. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but I don't know. It's an intriguing question.
Sometimes it takes a little bit to set up a photograph.
Oh, there you
And
go.
there are certain photographs that are worth taking. And that's the type of photograph I would like to take in 2019
Okay.
is that.
What would be in the maze itself? What would you be cut into shape of?
All you.
Since you asked.
No, it's not. I don't know if this is the right note. Yeah. Like I showed this I think it seems like all the days. Like right there, that top one, you can plant 100 hemp plants like that.
Yeah.
And that should be okay.
Yeah.
But that bottom one, that's a maze. And they specifically told me that I cannot plant hemp in a maze pattern in Kansas this year because of Kansas KAR 435 or 4-34-5 that says a licensee shall not conduct activities that involve industrial hemp plants, plant parts, grain, or seeds that are unrelated to the licensee's approved research proposal.
Oh, so that's the escape clause.
Or educational activities at any location listed on the license, including industrial hemp-related activities involving an industrial hemp maze.
Huh.
Like, so... Sorry, that took forever to read. I was simultaneously dealing with it. I was like, stop.
So essentially, you're not allowed to use the crop then, from what I gather on that, on anything other than its intended purpose, you know, whether it be CBD, grain, fiber, or whatnot. If you wanted to use that as because mazes are agri-tourist type activities, so that's probably what they're trying to, you know, so you don't have the little elves and everybody running through the maze of hemp.
Agri-tourist.
Yeah.
I have never heard that.
Oh, you haven't? That's a major component for a lot of your larger growers, you know. Mm-hmm. Agritourism, you see that a lot in the fall. That's why when you mentioned maize, I remember my little kids all went to public school.
And stuff
yeah,
like that.
you know, but they all, these pumpkin farms and stuff, all have corn mazes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, having kids run through a hemp maze, that's all I could imagine.
That's what I proposed. No, that's what I proposed.
Yeah.
That's the picture that I painted for them. And so they just said that. So they wrote it like you can't do that. But now I've talked to him on the phone, and they have said that because the reg is written like that, that I can't, you cannot plant hemp in the shape of a maze.
But you could cut it. Are you allowed to say that officially?
It's part of, that's the fight. That, but
just map
there's
it out.
several ways to several ways to prove the point, I think, which is to really get a maze and a crop duster and hemp all in the same photo.
You got this fixation on crop dusting, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
About seeding and stuff with the crop duster.
Oh, yeah, that's been part of the plan for since when?
Oh,
since we started talking about the hemp maze when Chris Trad and Lauren Trad came here, whenever that was.
Yeah,
that's the first time that we talked about it.
You would enjoy a conversation with him too.
Was he the pilot?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, he's a hemp grower though.
Oh,
He's a grower, but very much organic.
Yeah. In fact, you should know each other. Yeah.
He grew organic tomatoes for a long,
Who is this?
time. Chris Trad.
Where's he out of?
He is
Conifer
right now.
Where's that at?
What would you say?
Is that a Greeley area?
Northwest, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, northwest. That'd be not northeast.
We'll point it out on a map later.
Okay, cool. I was just wondering if his name's familiar. Maybe it was a gentleman I met last year at University of Denver. Was he there?
Probably. It wouldn't surprise me.
Okay.
But really super knowledgeable organic grower and was into vegetables before.
Okay.
And so you guys probably run in the same.
Yeah, probably a lot of overlap,
Yeah,
you know,
a lot of
what
overlap.
we're doing and stuff. So, well, that'd be an interesting, like I said, I don't read the rules that closely.
So why not in 2020? So I give up in Kansas in 2019. I give up. I just want to get the maze done. But 2020 in Kansas for 2019 in Kentucky, why not do an industrial hemp maze? You got a fiber crop.
Yeah.
You've got a bunch of land that needs to become organic if they ever have any. That they maybe have to grow some remediation crops on with the crop duster. Right? And then carve it into a maze, and it's got it's nothing THC in it.
Yeah. There's
why
nothing.
not do that? Why not?
That would be a
educate
question.
kids about, hey, kids, this is... Now you've got all these old, way less profitable dinosaurs of crops on your patches that you sew onto your jackets at school. Why not get that It's a hemp leaf.
You know, that would be something that you could present to somebody. I just playing the devil's advocate here. I don't see schools, at least not where I'm at in Kentucky, going for something like that. I agree. It seems silly, and it most likely is. But that's, you know, you sort of live in whatever, you swim in the pond that you're in at the moment.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
So it's, you know, I agree. Maybe one day, if it makes sense, if it's economical, it seemed like it's a pretty expensive crop and you don't want, you know, the reason corn works is it's relatively cheap plant and you're not really losing that much if somebody's running it down, running it over, you know, stuff like that. Well, I'm just thinking of just kids tramping through stuff, you know.
I think your main problem is going to be pollination. Are you planting this CBD crop outdoors?
Yes, we for the co-op, yeah. That will be we're trying to get an idea where everything is. There's no surefire. I mean, topography, the winds, you know, timing. There's a lot of issues that we're going to be facing as we go forward. And that's one of the things, you know, like some growers, they're doing both and they're trying to locate it on, you know, on other parts of the property. And there's a lot of tree lines and everything like that. You know, how effective is that? I would be scared to try it, but we got one grower that's going to try it this year, you know, a couple thousand feet. And he just said, yeah, I'll just put out a half acre. We'll see what happens. Great. You know, he's going to locate it in the most optimal position, you know, like prevailing winds come out of the southwest out of in Kentucky. So, you know, you put that, you know, upwind from your grain crops or whatever, you know, you might be able to get by. I don't know.
I got an idea. You know, all those I'm going to be able to time this, I think, actually. Maybe not, but because that wasn't running. But like, check it out. If you watch this video here for a second, so there's us over Red Rocks.
Okay.
You know, see, we've been installing these great big fans in Kansas that you see them all along I-70. And so we could turn those fans on and blow the
maybe.
We've
pretty high
installed
density.
several thousand fans now along I-70. It's hard to miss them if you're in Kansas, but you could turn those on to blow the pollen one way or another.
Oh, there you go. You know, if you think that might work, I'd say go for it. Everybody.
I mean, the cost is sunk at this point.
Yeah, that's true. Well, not really. If you're considering the cost of your crop that you're putting out, you know, how much are you willing to lose, you know? And it also goes to the point of what I tell growers, you know, sometimes just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, and it's sort of like, yeah, you can do all this or, you know, maybe challenge this, you know, longstanding idea. But should you? I mean, and if you do, there's always that risk, you know. So, you know, go for it. Put it behind the turbines.
My favorite saying for that is, actually, that is funny, but that's not the hill I'm going to die on.
Okay, that's not.
You know.
Oh, come on. You brought it up. You got to finish it now.
No, that's not the hill I'm going to die on.
Oh, that's your saying. Okay.
That's the saying.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you're
I was just
stepping
thinking
back.
about how funny it is that I happen to have a video of the airship flying over a windmill.
Oh, okay.
You know, but it's just you'll have to come up with solutions.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of what we want to do at the co-op. There's going to be some real world scenarios. I mean, I'm ready to get kicked in the teeth a couple times at least, probably per year, with stuff that's just going to come in. It's still a new crop. I mean, yes, it was grown, you know, decades and century ago in Kentucky, but bringing it back into where it is now, it's got to be looked on as a new crop. You're developing, you know, protocols and practices for a new crop. And what works here in Colorado may not work in Kentucky, and just the different grow areas of Kentucky, it can vary so much, just like here in Colorado. I'm sure, you know, you're up towards the mountains or you're on the east or west slope, growing conditions are probably going to be different. You get, And how is the plant going to react? So there's always going to be this discovery, I think, as we go forward with this. And I mean, I think that's just part of the growth, you know, and I think that's great. It's challenging, and it's one of the things we all have to face. And as a co-op, what's going to be nice and fun is sharing this information, helping each other out. And, you know, and that's the idea, what we want to go with. So
I think it's fantastic.
Well, thank you.
This is fun.
Thank you. I've had a blast. I've hopefully I've hit the points that you wanted to hit here, and I've enjoyed it. This is, and here it is. It's just simple conversations, you know, that can change stuff. And you know, when Sean and I decided to start our co-op, it was like simple conversation of something. Hey, why don't we try this? Yeah. And all of a sudden, you're finding people start coming to it, and it's sort of, you know, it's sort of scary. Because something new, something all of a sudden people are looking at you like, hey, you know, what do you think? What's your answer on this? I'm sitting there going, shit, I don't know. I'll help you find it, but I don't know, you know. But we can share this road together, and that's what's sort of fun. And it all starts with a conversation. And that's why I really appreciate you having me on here, having me ramble away.
Thanks for coming.
Part of Wednesday afternoon.
Do it again.
So,
Do it again
all
soon.
right, I'd love to.
Yeah.
We'll be in contact and everything like that. So this was a blast.
You know any jokes?
Probably nothing that might be appropriate. Mine are probably more situational about me. So no, nothing you could put on.
Everybody go learn a
I do.
You
I
should've-
do got one.
Okay.
I thought about this. All right. There were these two old guys, and they were ball players. And they retired in the retirement home, and they were, you know, they always loved to watch ball, listen to ball, whatever. So they had this agreement. They said, all right, if there's baseball in heaven, one of us has got to come back and tell the other one. And then they said, solid pact, they were going to do it. Well, one of these guys, he passed away. And, you know, he kept his word. He came back, and the other guy goes, you got to tell me. He goes, well, I got good news and bad news. And he goes, well, what? And he goes, well, there is baseball, and you can play, and your body's great, but the bad news is you're pitching next week. So there you go. Nice, clean joke.
Oh, that is good. That is good. Yeah, next time on, I'll have a joke for you. I'll finish with something. You know, that would be somewhat appropriate, maybe. I mean,
You know what would be appropriate is
What's
for
that?
a country music star to write a song about farming hemp this year. Be the first.
ooh, there you go.
Like, that's a real occupation. You got a co-op of 16 farmers just with your group in Kentucky. Patty Zanine's got co-op of 8 farmers in Kansas.
Awesome.
That are and they're growing like with Kansas stuff, you know.
Yeah,
like
large
bigger,
scale. Yeah, they're doing large
larger.
scale, yes.
I mean, nothing compared to what could be done.
Yeah.
Like just, but that's their whole. I mean, that's what they're doing this year. That's a big part of that farming community. And
Yeah.
somebody ought to be writing country music songs.
Or maybe a bluegrass hit. You know,
Coming
Bluegrass
out of
hit.
Kentucky, that would be
yeah,
appropriate.
you know, maybe get Ben Soley or, you know, some good Kentucky blood on this. Sam Bush, you know, some locals. Hey, that'd be something. Yeah. There's a bunch of musicians I hang down at the Coffee Tree. Wave out, shout out to the Coffee Tree in Frankfurt. That's my favorite hangout. Coffee in the morning, beer after work, you know. It's a good place. But a lot of musicians down there. So maybe I have to hit something up about hemp. We'll have to see. But it's getting a lot of traction in Kentucky. A lot of people are really looking at it. I mean, it's going to be a wild ride these next couple of years. As everybody's getting into it, there's, you know, a lot of stuff being thrown around. And just, you know, just be patient and, you know, don't get out over the tips of your skis, so to speak, and, you know, be under control. And hopefully it all works out. It'll shake itself out, but it's going to be a wild ride for right now. And hopefully as a co-op, we can, you know, we can surf this all together. So, you know, hopefully.
I'm just hoping, you know, you can take 3 seeds from the same place, you know, and grow them in different ways, and you can get 3 different results for your plant. And, you know, thinking about Kentucky and their rich growing conditions that they have there, I'm thinking, you know, it makes you wonder, you know, what's going to be different about Kentucky soil? You know, is that going to bring out some of the other cannabinoids that we're looking for? In better growing conditions or different growing conditions? Is it going? How is it going to affect it that way?
That is an interesting question that's been being raised. I'm sure that's part climate, part genetics, part practice. So you got, three things coming together there. How this Venn diagram all fits, okay, so much of this, so much of that to get your result. And I'm hoping now, like we were talking about earlier with the Farm Bill, with that passing, now that we'll be able to get universities, some may see that as a bad thing, I see it as a good thing, get university funding to do some of this research, to do some production research, to look at, how is this affecting the cannabinoid profile within a plant with the different production practices. That's exciting. I'm a producer now, but I worked for years at Kentucky State as a researcher. So all these questions pose like interesting scenarios and things for me to look at or try. And
I'd like to do land testing, find a piece of property that has toxins, maybe high levels.
Oh, you can for that,
and then to put the hemp out, and then
with the crop duster.
There you go. Then you won't be on the soil, the bad soil.
Yeah, and see just what are the results? How much does it really do? Now we know our government's already done it. But.
Yeah, but like in urban areas where you have the gray field or brown fields, I forget what they call it, sort of the old urban areas from factories that have contaminated soils.
Right.
I've worked with some groups over in Louisville that are doing gardens in Louisville, and they do run across some of contaminated ground, so they have to use raised beds. But how about what you're saying? Use hemp as a bioaccumulator for the remediation of that soil, and how does that all work? And at what point can you actually get in there and have it be producing for human or animal consumption? That's interesting, and hopefully there'll be more of that as we go forward. But people don't want to admit it, but it does help to have government support and government funding to try to figure out some of these problems, because somebody may find the answer, but they can't get the information out, or and if you're doing replicated studies throughout the state, you can sort of then be real specific to how you want to do stuff in this area with this soil.
Well, in hemp studies, if you talk to any researcher or cannabis person medically, they get so frustrated because they can't do studies. Can't can't go do it at the university, but they're doing hemp. Yeah. So our toe is in the door.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And we're going.
If a toe went under my door and wiggled like that, I would be out. Out the window.
Yeah, we're getting toe in
looking
there.
Like that.
Some alien coming in under the door. Yeah.
Jeez.
Well, this got sidetracked real quick. But I would say, get your foot in the door is what you were looking at. Foot in the door. Yeah. It's open. It's open. Not open where we want it to be or where it needs to be, but it's a start.
Or what's the analogy? You're chipping away at it.
Yeah, eating an elephant. How you do it, one bite at a time. And problems are always going to crop up, from production problems to corn or hemp mazes to dust cropping with seeds. All these are for specific people, they're problems, and how are we going to address this? How we're going to work through them? It's going to be an exciting time. It's going to be an aggravating time, and it's going to be. One day you're going to be really great about it, and other days you're just going to be, oh, what the hell am I doing here?
It's fun.
Oh, it is. It's
go
fun.
Get in the hemp industry.
Yes.
Go start yourself a hemp company right now, America.
Well,
invent a better mousetrap, because these mousetraps weren't allowed to be screwed with basically for 80 years.
Just make something besides tincture. We have enough.
Yeah.
We have enough tincture companies.
Can you say tincture?
Tincture?
Can you say tincture?
Tincture,
That's a legal word? Okay. I'm still learning some of the legal lingo, because for about a year, I was using the wrong terminology for, because the medical, the FDA, how they blend stuff stated.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. All I know is I don't know a different word for it.
Oh, I thought it's sublingual.
You could use a tincture as a sublingual.
Yeah, I'm just off a total God, that diverged real quickly. That conversation.
Welcome to Feed First.
All right, thank you. Well, we're sort of just talking about, just going forward and, like just manage. If you're thinking about getting into it, do it at a scale where it's not going to kill you if it fails. I always tell people when I'm working with them organically in transition training, don't overextend yourself. Only plant initially what you can afford to lose, because if this is new to you, there's going to be challenges you haven't thought of, and there's going to become issues that you don't know. So definitely do it on a manageable scale. Don't go too crazy with it, and you'll be better off for it at the end of the year and going forward. So you may miss a year because you didn't were up to the scale you wanted to be, but you've prepared yourself to go forward better. And, I've seen that with some growers. They start out too big. It's with vegetable crops, and there's a failure, and then boom, they're done. So hopefully we won't see that with hemp growers. Everybody sort of, you will see it, I think, with the mad rush that's going on now. But I think, with the co-op and what we want to do, just play the long game, go slow with it, manage it correctly, be fair with everybody, care about everybody, and hopefully they'll carry us through this and into a better future for everybody. So
outstanding. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming by.
Well, thank you.
Really appreciate it. This was a lot of learning. I feel like we should start being like an educational series at this point. We're on a roll for really.
This is educational. Me on here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you.
It is.
Thank you, but I'd say that's sort of a low bar. But, but thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks for joining, everybody. This I did a crappy job of comments again.
Oh, I will go back over and answer everybody.
Tomorrow we'll be on at 1:30 Mountain Time with Wendy and Karen from the Marijuana Show and from Club Hemp. And they are awesome, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So tune in then. And until then, I'm Travis Lippert, CEO of Verks Unlimited Limited, better known as VeedVerks, reminding you that if you don't get hemp here, get hemp somewhere.
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah, I like it. Right?
Yeah, that is good. You don't get it here, get it somewhere. I got to remember that.